10 Uncomfortable Facts About the USA. Hi, I am Sean here. If you are new to this channel, then subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon to get our latest videos that increase your knowledge about the world events. Today we are going to look at one of the most powerful economies of the world. But, even the best have their flaws. In this video we will look at the 10 uncomfortable facts about the United States of America. Internationally, the United States is ranked number 1 when it comes to the Global Competitiveness Report, but that's about the only positive ranking the US holds at that spot. With regards to negative rankings, the United States tops on many of them that include firearms, children mortality due to guns and national debt. Most Americans have a rose-shaded perspective on their country's existence on this planet, however there are a lot of parts of the nation that no American ought to be glad for. This video features a portion of the most exceedingly awful things most Americans either would prefer not to know or wish weren't valid, however unfortunately, they are. 10. Most Americans are up to their eyeballs in debt. For Americans, credit and debt are simply a way of life. A large part of American economy is capitalist and consumer-driven, which means, Americans like to buy new stuff, and they often do so via some form of credit. Why wait to buy a new TV when you can pay it off with some interest over the next 5 years? An average American splurges on one thing, then another, and before they know what they've done, they owe an average of $38,000 in credit card debt, and the trend is showing an increase. When you take that average and factor in the population, the nation as a whole owes $4 trillion in all forms of consumer debt. The bottom line, Americans are drowning in debt, and the problem is worsening. 9. Homelessness and wealth distribution is a serious problem. Homelessness is an issue everywhere throughout the world, and keeping in mind that you can find it in other developed countries like the UK and France, the United States has unquestionably more as opposed to other developed Western countries. In 2018, about 0.17% of the American population was living in the city, and keeping in mind that that doesn't appear to be a great deal, it adds up to more than 553,000. The states with the most homeless are California, New York, Florida, Washington, Oregon, and Texas. Incidentally, the greater part of these states have high population density, yet they also have the absolute wealthiest individuals in the nation. The most obvious question is if the United States is the wealthiest country on the planet, for what reason are such a significant number of individuals destitute? The complex financial aspects of the states doesn't offer a simple answer, yet there is a stark contrast between the wealthiest individuals and the people who have nothing. Since the quantity of Americans who are madly rich stays low, the top 1% of well-off Americans hold 40% of the all-out national riches. 8. The United States has a crumbling infrastructure. The politicians talk about fixing infrastructure constantly, however nothing has come out of it. Then, 47,000 bridges are in genuine need of fix with the chance of a cataclysmic failure should a somewhat enormous pigeon fire some droppings at an inappropriate place. Roads are likewise a significant problem, and the impact is visible if you drive down any significant expressway in the United States. The Pacific Institute for Research and Evaluation confirmed that 42,000 road accidents were the result of potholes and other maintenance issues. 7. The U.S. has the largest prison population in the world. This statistic is broadly known, yet most Americans don't know about exactly how awful the penal system in the nation is. The United States has more detained individuals than any other country on the planet. For each 100,000 residents, 724 are in jail, and when you see that number, it may not look enormous. However, for China, that number is just 118 out of 100K. The number turns into a much more serious issue when representing the total population of detainees in the states, which is around 2.2 million, and the prison occupancy rate is at 107.6%, which means they are overcrowded. 6. The country's healthcare problems are a nightmare. Perhaps the greatest issue confronting the United States is a healthcare system that has gotten so out of sorts, individuals are being charged a huge number of dollars just by walking into an ER and not even get any treatment. Regarding rankings, the United States remains at the top of the list as far as spending on healthcare system is concerned, but without some genuine government reforms across all regions of insurance, billing, prescription medical costs, and long-term care, it will just deteriorate. The US is where an individual can end up in bankruptcy and lose all their life savings from falling ill, and it happens constantly. The expression clinical bankruptcy has become the norm, and 66.5% of all liquidations result from clinical expenses. It's gotten to a point where individuals are deciding to skip treatment and appreciate the time they have left, as opposed to go into financial hardship, which would hamper their families. The news is flooded with instances of individuals abandoning insulin, which diminishes its viability, often leading to complication and death. Professionally prescribed medication costs in the United States have driven numerous to wrongfully buy and bring back identical medications from Mexico and Canada, where it's far less expensive. It's not really restricted to drugs, as something genuinely routine like MRI costs a normal of $1,119 in the States, while a similar method will run $215 in Australia. 5. The US has refused to ratify some widely accepted international treaties. Reality with regards to America and treaties is, the nation rarely ratifies them. In any event, when the nation signs a treaty, there's no assurance it will maintain it. Native Americans know this very well. The latest instances of this include the Paris Climate Accord and the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. As of November 2019, the United States has refused to sign or ratify the following: the Treaty of Versailles, 1919, which ended World War I, the International Labour Convention, 1949, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discriminations Against Women, 1979, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, 1989, and the Mine Ban Treaty, 1997, just to give some examples. The refusal to sign is regularly self-serving to the country, yet it features a persistent quality of refusal to take an interest in worldwide governmental issues when the US doesn't get what it needs in a treaty. 4. American guns kill American kids. A lot. Guns are an issue in the United States, and keeping in mind that there are a lot of articles and conversations online about the dangers of weapon possession, the simple fact remains that more children die in the US from firearms than anywhere else on the planet. The stats for child deaths in the United States rank firearms as the second driving reason after vehicle crashes and above cancer. Indeed, you read that accurately, cancer kills less American kids than guns. In 2016, 3,143 children died from weapon-related deaths, and just a small percentage originated from school shootings. When it comes to firearm-related child deaths generally, the United States ranks higher than Iraq, Afghanistan, Thailand, Kenya, and numerous other countries. In the meantime, the vehicle-related child deaths is on the decrease, while weapon-related deaths among kids are speeding up to outperform it. In 2016, 4% were unintended/unintentional shootings, 35% were suicides, and 60% were manslaughters. The remaining 1% were uncategorized because of uncertainty. The saddest part of these insights remains the way that the majority of these children likely wouldn't have passed on were firearms less predominant in the United States. 3. The well-being of children in the US is declining. Everybody thinks about the prosperity of kids, and no one wants to see their next generation suffer. However, kids in America aren't doing quite as well as you may anticipate. There are several components driving the numbers indicating an issue, including literacy, healthcare, science and technology education, and ignorance. While a considerable lot of these issues hamper grown-ups in the States also, the danger to the young adults is significantly all the more vexing. As far as education is concerned, the United States ranks 24th. If the kids don't figure out how to read at an early age, it will in turn affect their odds to find a great job and deal with themselves without requiring help from the state. 2. American freedom of the press isn't as free as most think. Freedom of the press is one of the central pillars of American liberty, having been classified into law by means of the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. The privileges of the individuals to freely criticize their government, whether positively or negatively, is vital to a free and just society, yet those opportunities have been consistently declining throughout the years. For the third year straight, the United States' positioning on the World Press Freedom Index has dropped to 48th out of 180 countries. The positioning tumbled to the point on the scale where it depicts the treatment of writers as being problematic. The positioning depended on the president's hostility towards journalists, the curtailing of White House briefings, the forbidding of a few correspondents who asked questions or reported news the president couldn't have cared less for. 1. Equal rights for women have yet to fully manifest. The United States has some significant issues when gender equality is concerned, and the administration isn't doing a lot to fix it. The 2019 Sustainable Development Goals Gender Index covered a lack of gender equality in the following areas: gender budgeting in public services, equal representation in powerful positions, gender pay gaps, and gender-based violence. Currently, the US is tied with Bulgaria for 28th spot. Yet another investigation directed by the World Economic Forum put the US at 51 out of 149 states where gender equality is concerned. The average salary compensation comparison shows that a lady who works a similar job as a man makes 63 cents for each dollar the other gender makes. The US has had an equal rights amendment surfing around the nation for full sanction since as far back as 1923, yet it has so far neglected to be approved in the vital 38 states. So that's our top 10 for today. Let us know which of these top 10 uncomfortable facts about USA hit you the hardest in comments below. If you like this video, then do share it with your friends and subscribe to our channel too.